Hi, I'm Yinka, and this is The Hurt Locker, a podcast where we open a door into men's mental health. Come and go.
I've always had the fuck-offs about me. I think because I always gave as good as I got.
You have had many exploits. You're smiling now.
It depends what you're going to bring up, mate.
What do you think I'm going to bring up?
I can hear my mum screaming, and I remember thinking, I'm in trouble here.
And when you reached the pinnacle, where do you go to from there?
I was in a mess. I was lost.
Was there ever a moment in your career whereby you thought, fuck this, I can't do this no more? You're listening to The Hurt Locker, the podcast that opens a door on men's mental health. On tonight's guest, we have Ricky Balshaw. Ricky, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. How's your day been?
It's been long. I've got a really big gig tomorrow, so I'm doing tour support for Jason Manford. And I've got lucky that I've got a gig near the same area, so travelled 4.5 hours, checked into the B&B. This isn't my bedroom, you can see. This is the bed and breakfast I'm in. Got in, had a shower, logged on. Here I am.
Okay. It's quite funny because Tim, the producer, was telling me beforehand that when he approached you to come on The Hurt Locker, your response was, I'm not famous enough. What do I know about mental health and that? But I know you supported Tom Stade as well. Come on.
I get it, like we're all men and we suffer, or we can talk about mental health, but I just didn't think I was a big enough name for you guys. Do you know what I mean?
Wow, I don't even know if we're big, so I don't know about that.
No, I was going to say, just compared to some of your other guests, I'm fucking way down here. Like, as I say, Mr. Stade is one of my comedy icons. So yeah, as soon as I knew he was on, I was like, nah, they don't really want me.
No, this is the fourth time of asking, isn't it?
Oh, mate, it's been a nightmare, hasn't it? It's been a nightmare, just one thing after another. And then, to be honest, when I was coming up here, half of me thought I'm going to have to pull tonight because I'd forgot that I'd taken the gig and the date. But as it worked out, time's on our side, and I didn't want to make it number 5.
Thank you. So, for the benefit of our listeners, who is Ricky Balshaw?
So, as I say, my name's Ricky Balshaw. I'm a former Paralympian. I was on the Paralympic Dressage team for 16 years. Competed at sort of every major championship during that period. Probably career highlight was silver at the Beijing Paralympics. I retired when I was 30 from sport. Well, no, from dressage. Then I did another equestrian sport a year after that called reining and became the world champion of that. And then I retired literally that medal ceremony. So I got the gold medal, feet hit the floor, and I've not been on a horse since. Then got a regular 9 to 5, a proper job as my dad would call it. Hated it. And 4 years later, took up comedy. A year after that, sacked off the day job, and I'm now a full-time comic.
Brilliant. So let's go back. Growing up.
Yeah.
Born and raised in Shropshire. Have I understood that correctly? Yeah.
That's right, yeah. So I started being born in Salford. They fucked it up, so I ended up being born in Shrewsbury. And hence the disability, hence cerebral palsy. But yeah, born and raised in Salford, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the cerebral palsy.
So there are a few types of cerebral palsy, and I'm going to say a word now that's probably going to trigger a load of people, but it is what it is. I've got the spastic form, which basically what that means is, so I had oxygen starvation around birth, which damaged part of the brain. So sort of every second mattered while I wasn't breathing. They got me breathing, but it's neurological problems. Somewhere between the message being sent from the brain to the muscle, something gets fucked up. The best way I can describe it is if you move your arm out like that as an able-bodied person, let's say you use 10 muscles. In my body, I've got 6 going, nah, fuck off. Because I've got the spastic form, the body works against itself. So yeah, that's cerebral palsy in a nutshell.
What was it like for you then, going to school with your cerebral palsy?
Yeah, to be honest, I get asked that a lot. And I think people assume that, growing up with a disability at that time, I was going to get a load of shit. And I was the first disabled kid at my secondary school. So the primary school I went to shared a car park with a special needs school. So there's a lot of sort of overlap there. So it wasn't anything out of the ordinary for the kids there. But because I was the first disabled kid at my secondary school, people assume I was going to get some shit. But I've always had the fuck-offs about me. And I think because I always gave as good as I got, it wasn't that bad. And my dad sat me down on the first day of secondary school. In my head, I just completed primary school. Like, it wasn't going to be an issue. And my dad sat me down. He says, Rick, someone's going to take the piss out of you today. And he reeled off all these names. And he said, you've got to be in there at 8:30. I don't give a shit if I have to pick you up because the headmaster's phoned me at 9:15. He said, if someone says anything to you, I want you to fire as many fucks into them as you can. And as I say, I've just completed primary school in my head with no hassle at all. I thought my dad was talking crap, but no, he fucking nailed it. Within 5 minutes of being at school, I was called a cabbage, and I just let loose into this kid. And yeah, from then I didn't get any shit. Well, sort of no more than anyone else got. You know, everyone gets a little bit of shit, don't they? Everyone's taking the piss out of everyone. But no more than any other kid. There were kids that were bullied a lot worse than me, bless them.
So you were able to navigate that. You set your stall out on the first day, in the first 5 minutes, as it were. How was it just coping academically with school? Did you enjoy it?
I did, to be honest. Yeah, I wasn't like top straight A student, but I'm quite intelligent naturally. I coasted through school. I think if I'd have tried harder, I could have got really good grades. But I was put on the team at 14, the Paralympic team, and that was always my priority. So school was kind of secondary, but it kind of was what it was. I didn't really enjoy school. I didn't hate school. It was just something I had to do. I got the results I needed. I went to sixth form, got my A levels. I went to university just in case. The plan was I wanted something to fall back on in case,
Absolutely.
you know, at the end of the day, we're doing sport and I'm sat on half a ton of animal. Anything can happen at any point, which we'll probably end up getting into because it did. So I always wanted something to fall back on. So I did my GCSEs, did my A levels, coasted through, you know, didn't struggle at all in school, did my degree, and then it was the 2008 was the year of Beijing, the Olympics, Paralympics, and that would have been my BA year. So I had the choice of either doing my BA or going to the Paralympics. So I fucked off education at that point and went to the Paralympics. But yeah, school was easy, really. School was
Okay.
sound.
You mentioned being picked up at 14 years of age. That means, I mean, I read a little something that you started horse riding at the age of 4 on the recommendation of your physiotherapist to help you with your coordination and all of that. I mean,
Yeah.
were you an affluent family or a well-to-do family, as it were, just commence horse riding?
Not in the slightest, no. We lived in a council house, you know, come from quite humble background. My dad, my mum worked in a chippy, my dad was a fencer. You know, we just it was normal for us. We just lived in a little council house village, not affluent at all, not equine. But my physio recommended it. It's called hippotherapy. To be honest, I need to talk about this in stand up because I can't think of a worse thing than looking at these really disabled kids and sticking them on a fucking horse. It's like it blags my head that someone even thought of that in the first place. Like, what were they thinking? But the logic is, like, especially with my disability, because I've got the spastic form, which is like tight muscles.
Yeah,
So the theory is that you obviously sat on a horse, so it stretches all your adductors, your hamstrings. You're improving your core strength because the horse is moving underneath you the whole time and you're fighting to keep your balance. And because I've got no natural balance, it's all been taught. That was like brain training without knowing I was doing it. Because as I say, the horse is moving and you're fighting to keep your balance the whole time. And I was properly shit when I first started. I had to have someone holding me on the horse either side and someone leading the horse. But then eventually one person went away, then the other went away. Then I was, you know, controlling the horse myself. And I joined an able-bodied riding school. So I was trying to keep up with the able-bodied kids because I'm really competitive by nature. Like, I can't fucking play board games with kids. Because,
you know what?
mate,
It comes across.
the thought of going easy on a kid kills me.
Nah,
Like,
nah,
I can't do it. I
it's not
can't do it.
happening.
They win or they learn. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, so I was trying to keep up with the normal kids, the able-bodied kids, whatever you want to call them. And I guess I just got good. I won the disabled national championships at the age of 13. And from that, well, there was a little weird course of events that happened. I'll tell you actually. So that year that I won the nationals, I went to go and watch because it was the year after Sydney Olympics. So we're talking 2000, 2001. They were doing like a demonstration, the Paralympic team were, and I went to watch. And I won a raffle. And I went up to get my prize and I got talking to this woman. I hadn't got a fucking clue who she was, but she was asking me what I did and all that stuff. And I told her I've just won the nationals, blah, blah, blah. Turns out that she was the head coach of the Paralympic team. And off the back of that, I got invited to the selection trials and then got on the team.
Wow. Just going back, there's loads more. And I also encourage people to read your Wikipedia, because there's going to be loads of stuff that I'm not going to touch on here in terms of your falls, etc., that you've experienced. But
Yeah.
given the fact that you've come from humble backgrounds, given the fact that you were taking on horse riding, I mean, that's not cheap in itself, getting the gear and everything else. How did you feel with your folks investing in you? And was there any internal conflict? Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I've got a younger brother.
Okay, so was there any conflict between your parents investing this time, money, and efforts in you to the negative of your younger brother, as it were? If that makes
Um,
sense.
yeah, it makes perfect sense, and I think there was really. So in terms of the finances and stuff, my parents did such a good job of not letting us know how much. I had no idea how poor we were. I just thought everyone was the same as us. And they put everything they could into making sure that me and my brother had everything we needed. I got very lucky in one regard that the sport changed once I was already in it. So when I got into the sport, it was known as a borrowed horse competition. So we'd turn up at the competition, the horses would be donated, we'd draw the horse out of a hat and compete. And I was able to make a name for myself doing that. So I didn't have the expense of a horse. Then the sport changed and I needed a horse. But because I had the reputation that I already had for being okay, I was able to get sponsors. So by the
Okay.
time I was at an age that I needed the money, I dropped really lucky that I was able to get someone else to pay for it, because we wouldn't have been able to. And if I was for now getting into the sport, the way the sport's moved, I would never get anywhere. With the money that we had, I'd have just never been able to do it. It just would never have happened, which is a shame, because there are a lot of talented kids out there now that will never get that
Mhm.
opportunity. And they're only ever going to see the therapeutic side of it, which is fantastic. But I do feel that the country is losing a lot of talent because the sport's just got too expensive. In terms of me and my brother, yeah, me and my brother have always had a good relationship, but I think he did struggle. I needed a lot more attention growing up. I was always in hospital, having operations. I was doing well with sport. And I know, looking back now, I know that my parents tried to give him every opportunity. Like, whatever hobby he wanted to try and do, he was allowed to do, and they would push him and support him as much as they could. But I do think that there was probably, well, I know that there was resentment on his side, that I think probably early doors was aimed at me, and then as he's got older, it is aimed at my parents.
How do you reconcile that? Can you ever reconcile that? Because at the end of the day, we're human beings, you know? It's hard. It's hard from your side. It's hard from your brother's side as well.
Yeah, it's tough. I think my brother knows that I'm not to blame, and we've got a good relationship, and we talk and stuff. And if this is going to sound horrible, perhaps, or maybe it won't, maybe it'll make sense, but I think if he's got an issue with my mom, dad, or both, I know for a fact that both parents tried to treat us equally.
Yeah,
So that's for him to resolve with them.
100%.
It's I don't want to fall out with my parents. I don't want to fall out with my brother. So if they're going to fall out, I'll still have a relationship with both of them. If they want to reconcile, which they have, as it turns out, they've all got good relationships now. But it's not something that I did or wanted to get involved in.
I understand. I think for me as a father, as a parent, it's that equity, in the sense that if somebody's not got the better opportunities, then you're going to invest more in them to raise the bar for them. You know, that's what you would do, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And at the end of the day, there's in this particular family, there was two kids and there was two parents. So whenever I was in hospital and needed some attention, one of them would come with me and the other one would be with Liam. Or if I was doing sport, one of them would come with me and the other one would be with Liam. I think as a kid, for my brother, that was really hard to understand, and he probably did feel pushed out, because on the surface of it, it looks like the priority of attention is being given to me. the reality is that the opportunities were there, and had they have been there for him, you know, they would have pushed it as well. That is hard for a child to understand, so I do feel for him massively.
You have had many exploits, equestrian wise. You're smiling now.
It depends what you're going to bring up, mate.
I don't know. What do you think I'm going to bring up? Go on, go on. I'll
No,
let
no.
you start.
Well,
I'll let you
when you say exploits, I don't know. No, I'm gonna be led by you here.
Oh, mine's probably tepid now, considering. But there was one thing I read, and I don't generally read beforehand, but
Okay.
there was one thing that I read whereby one of the injuries that you had, you fell off a horse, you broke your neck, you tried to get back on the horse again, and then realized that there was something wrong. And when the ambulance did arrive, they were amazed that you even moved in the first place.
Yeah. So it wasn't my neck; it was my back.
Okay, sorry.
No. It's not a problem. So yeah. So I was riding, fell off, and sort of. So basically, what happened at the end of the session? Something that I used to do for the horse is sort of let the reins go long so they can stretch the neck down. So as they're trotting around, it just helps them get rid of the lactic acid. Just so they heal better, etc. I was doing that, and someone was walking some dogs past the arena, sort of outside on the lanes. The dogs got loose, started chasing my horse. He popped off into canter and shot to the side, and I had no reins to pull him up. So I just fell out the side door, and I kind of landed on the back of my head and my shoulders, and my legs just kind of met my face in the middle. And I just thought I was winded. So I rolled over, sort of crawled over to the fence, got up, asked them to bring the horse back round, and then as I was on the mounting block, I tried to lift my foot into the stirrup and it just didn't happen. I couldn't lift my leg up and I thought there's something wrong here. So I phoned the ambulance. I then sat on the mounting block and sort of leant against the fence, and someone was taking photos for some reason. I can't remember who that was. But you can see on these photos my spine sticking out through my hoodie. Yeah, it didn't tickle. Yeah. And then they came, put me on a spinal board, and then I was in hospital. But I'll tell you about that actually. So I got to the hospital. I had major surgery on my back when I was 10, where they took my spine apart and operated on my spinal cord.
Wasn't that a special operation?
Yeah, I was the 6th or 7th in Europe to have it done. It was pioneering surgery. Basically, what they did, they took my spine out, exposed my spinal cord, artificially stimulated each nerve ending, and whichever made the most spastic results on the muscle, they killed. So in effect, they killed the muscles that were working against me. They part paralyzed me. Massive risk, you know, could have been paralyzed, been impotent, lost bladder control, bowel control, all these things. Massive success, great operation. I probably owe my life to it now because I'd have been in a wheelchair the way my disability was getting worse. So that happened. So bear in mind, I know a very good spinal surgeon. So I go to hospital after falling off, and it's about 2-3 days before the spinal guy had even made it to me. I'd had all the X-rays and that. In fact, funny story, my mate was training to be a radiographer at the time. I roll up at the hospital and he's there as a trainee. So he takes me photos, like, well, the X-rays, and then he came back. He went, "You need a piss, don't you?" I went, "Yeah." I went, "How the fuck do you know that?" I went, "I can see it on the X-ray," and he gave me a bottle so I could have a wee on the bed, which is just a little funny story for you. So that was that. Did all that, and I'm on this ward, and the doctors ain't even come to see me for days, and I'm on this fucking spinal board, getting wound up. But after so many days, he came up. No, it was about a week actually. You know, it was about a week. And he came up and he got me and my dad were there, and he put these X-rays on the board, and he says, "Right," he said, "Yeah," he said, you've got a crack here and a crack there and a compression fracture here." So we're looking at it, and I went, "What's that one?" He went, "Oh yeah, 4 cracks." And my dad went, "What's that?" He went, "Oh yeah, that's a real bad compression fracture." So this guy hadn't got a fucking clue. I think me and my dad counted 10 extra cracks that he hadn't even seen. So I got back to the bed and I phoned up the surgeon that had operated on me when I was 10. I'm not going to say his name because, I mean, he's great, but I went, "All right, doc." I said, "Is there any chance you can have a look at these X-rays? Because this guy hasn't got a fucking clue." And he phoned me back about an hour later. He said, "Rick, you've got a broken back, but it's the best broken back you could wish for." He said, "The outside is kind of shattered, the inside is kind of shattered, but the bit that holds the spinal cord is perfectly intact." He says, "The worst thing you can do now is stay in bed for 6 weeks." So I put the phone down for him and discharged myself.
Wow.
Yeah. I was fine. A few weeks later, I was sound. Well, I say sound, like they told me to have so many months off, but that was in 2011 and the selection trials were coming up for the 2012 games. So I got back on board far fucking sooner than I should, if I'm honest. I shouldn't have been on board because another fall would have paralysed me, but I was never going to get the chance of a home games again. So I got on board and I didn't make it. I wasn't fit enough. I wasn't good enough. But I had to try. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't ever wonder what if.
How did you deal with that? Not making the selection, not making the cut?
It hurt. It really hurt because I knew that even though with my sport, in theory, you've got a lot of longevity, I knew that I was never going to get the chance of a home games again. That was not
Yes.
going to come around in my career. And it stung, man. It really fucking stung. What really did help me through that is that I got a bit of work with Channel 4 doing the punditry
Okay.
work. So I was
Okay.
still able to be a part of it in some way. And that did help. But yeah, it did sting. It did sting. I was down in the dumps.
Like I say, I'm going to direct people to your Wikipedia site, but was there ever a moment in your career as an equestrian whereby you thought, fuck this, I can't do this no more, or I don't want to take the risk of falling in case I am paralyzed?
Yeah. Yeah, so a few times. So the worst fall that I had came 2 weeks after coming back from Beijing. So I bought a young horse earlier in the year and decided not to ride him because I didn't want to risk injuring myself. And I competed George, my competition horse. Got back from Beijing, absolute time of my life on a high. I had 2 weeks off because it's a really stressful time in the run up to Olympic and Paralympic Games. And then I got on this young horse and I was only in the saddle 5 minutes and he fucked off. I fell off the side door and the foot got stuck in the stirrup and I was dragged around. Now, I can still hear the pitch of my mum screaming because she was watching it. But I don't know if I hit my head or what was going on because I couldn't see or feel anything. There was no pain, no fear, nothing. I could feel that my body was moving, but it was black. There was nothing. And it's mad. I was in such like a calm and peaceful place mentally that since then I think dying is going to be quite a pleasant experience. But I can hear my mum screaming, and I remember thinking, I'm in trouble here. Like this is worse than it feels. And it was so calm. Like this is it. I've had a good run. It was so calm like that. But then the next thing, I'm in the middle of the arena and I'd been detached from the horse. He was still fucking off around. And I was lying on my side and I could just feel this electric like shooting up from my side. So I crawled over to the fence, stood up, and my mum said, "Are you all right?" I was like, "Nah," I said, "I think I've cracked a rib. I think I've done something." She said, "Do you want me to take you to the hospital?" I said, "Nah," I said, "You sort the horse out. I'll drive myself to the hospital." Sound. So I gets in the car, I drove to the hospital, and by the time I got to the hospital, adrenaline had just fucking gone completely. I was in agony and I was stuck in the car. I was in the car park, I was stuck in the car and I phoned 999 and I said, "Look, mate," I said, "Look," I went, "You ain't got to send an ambulance out, but can you send a nurse to the car park? Because I'm stuck in my fucking car." So, bless them, they sent someone out in a wheelchair, wheeled me in, and a nurse there must have been an equestrian fan or whatever, because she was really happy to see me. And
He
I've
recognized you.
oh mate, I've just been battered by a horse. What had happened was, as I was being dragged, he was kicking out with his back leg, and he just broken every rib on my right hand side. I dislocated my knee, and I'd cracked my skull. Like I was in a mess. And this woman was so happy to see me, and she was like, "Oh, if you'd have bought your medal, you'd have been seen quicker." I was like, "Sweetheart, going." Honestly, going via home to get the medal was the last thing on my fucking mind. Um, but I did because I felt bad the way I spoke to her, so I did take the medal up and see her a few days later. But yeah, no, I was battered. So to answer your question, that was tough because I'd gone from the highlight of my career, and I remember I woke up the next day after getting home from the Paralympics. I was 21, coming up 22, and I'd done everything that I'd ever wanted to do. I'd done my aim and I was lost.
It's
Lost.
interesting you saying that. I mean, when you, and this is the hurt locker, And when you reach the pinnacle of your profession, you've achieved what you set out to achieve. You've been riding horses since the age of 4. You're 21, 17 years. You've been doing that.
Yeah.
Where do you go to from there?
I was in a mess. And then during that 2 weeks, I thought, right, okay, let's start training. London's the next one. I've got a new aim. And then I stacked it, ended up in hospital. I can't ride for 6 months. I was in a mess and it wasn't good. And then I got on the same horse again when I was healed and he fucking dropped me again. And I cracked my skull again. I knocked myself out this time. And that was a bad one. I had swelling on the brain. They wouldn't let me sleep at the hospital for like 3 days. And I was just lost. I was lost in 2009. It was a really bad year for me mentally. I didn't cope well. I was just shit. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't do what I'd done all my life, and I'd completed everything I tried to do. It was tough, man.
Did you
And
talk to
then
anybody about how you were feeling? Why not?
because I was a twat and looking. I just didn't. I don't know why. I guess because at the time I was a bloke. We don't talk about that shit. And I didn't, just sucked it up, cracked on, out for the best. And it was, I shouldn't have. I should have addressed it and dealt with what was going on, but I didn't. I just fucking got drunk.
I'm just going to ask you directly then. Did you ever contemplate suicide?
No, I honestly never ever entered my mind. But
Okay.
at the same time, there was a distinct lack of self-preservation.
Okay. So if fate took its course, as it were, you weren't going to fight against it?
Nah.
Okay.
No, I was reckless during that 12, 18 months, incredibly reckless.
What would that recklessness entail?
It's just not saying no to anything, drink, other things that I shouldn't have been doing, driving at a fucking rate of knots. There was just no self-preservation. I just didn't. But it wasn't to try and end it. It was just to try and get some kind of a high, I think, just some kind of because I've been up on a high so much that was my normal place. I'm good when I'm up here and I'm good when I'm down here. I'm fucking shit in the middle. I'm not good
Okay.
at that grey.
Okay.
And that's something that I've learned through having help later on. But to answer your question about did I ever have the thoughts of one more fall, should I retire? Yeah, and that's when I did. In 2016, I had this horse. He was arguably the most talented horse of my life, but it scared me the most. He was so powerful, and he's the only horse that I never fell off during my career. But he scared me the most, and it was
Why did
pure
he
luck.
scare you?
Just because he was so powerful, his movement was immense, and without getting too technical into the dressage, the bloodline that he came from had this habit, let's call it, of when they do get scared and bolt, they sort of the Sandro hit line, which is his father's line, would lift the head up, bite down on the bit, and just fuck off. And there's nothing you can do. You're just a passenger, and I haven't got the ability to jump off at that point. I ain't bailing out, and if I do, I'm not landing well. So if that happens when I'm on board, I've got to fucking stick it out, and it happened a few times. And it was luck, not judgment, that I ended up staying in the saddle. And he scared me, and I did this competition, and he fucking really scared me. And I decided there and then, this is I ain't doing this because I don't bounce like I did in my teens.
Yeah.
I just don't. And then I had a year off, and then the reigning team, as I said, got in touch, and I was very apprehensive about trying it again. And I declined it initially because basically they were doing a world championships, and it was the first time they were having a para version, a disability version, and they wanted me to do it. They were rider short, and I said no. Then they phoned me up again a few weeks later, and they said, "Look, we really need you. We really need a rider. We'll pay for everything, and you can keep the prize money if you win any." I said, "What's the prize money?" And they told me, and I said, "Fuck it, I'm in," because it was a lot of money.
Go on, tell us how much.
Well, it was 30 grand.
Fucking hell, yes. Come on, lad.
30 grand,
Come
which,
on.
I was led to believe that was 30 grand each. It's not. That was the prize fund, which was split up. So,
Oh,
yeah, I know, right?
naughty, naughty.
Yeah, but anyway, it is what it is. As it turned out, it was great fun. The first year I did it, we got team silver. The second year I did it, I got individual gold. So I was the world champion. And I was literally there in the prize giving. And after my dressage experience, I thought, you know what? The only way I can go from here is down. I can't go any higher. I'm the world champion. They're playing my national anthem now. I've got the gold medal around my neck. Let's just fucking take the win. Take the win. And I've not ridden a horse since that medal ceremony.
Can I ask, just for clarification for me, what's reining?
Yeah, so reining, it's a Western style of riding. So with dressage, it's very similar to dressage in a lot of ways. You sort of dressage is the dancing horses. So you've got an arena with loads of letters around, and you ride from point to point, do certain size circles, certain movements, left to right, sideways, all that stuff. Reining is like dressage on speed. So some of the moves, so you still have to do like the large circles, the small circles, but you ride one-handed with really long reins. So it's like there's no contact on the mouth. And you do things like gallop in a straight line and stop as fast as you can. So you like sliding stops, or you get them to spin round in a circle as fast as they can, and you have to stop and bang on 3 or bang on 4 turns, whatever it is you're doing. So it's kind of, this is going to sound like such a wanky thing to say, but it's like high adrenaline dressage, which is the most pathetic sentence I've ever said in my life. So yeah, that's reining. It's the easiest sport I could have done next to dressage because it's got so many similarities. I had to just learn a few different aids to tell the horse what to do. But that's when I decided to quit horses altogether, just because I'd got lucky and champion. Let's just fucking leave on a high.
Absolutely. I mean, it's interesting you saying the power of that horse, and I've got my utmost respect for horse riders. I think horses are just beautiful, powerful beasts, and anybody who can harness and finesse and ride with them. I don't know if you've ever seen a film with George Clooney called Michael Clayton.
No.
There's a scene, he's a fixer for this law firm. Anyway, just a little segue.
Yeah.
It's dawn, and he happens to be riding his car, and he just stops and he walks up to his hills, and there's just these 3 gorgeous horses there, and he just walks up to them and just has a moment with them. And then there's an explosion, and then they just bolt and get off and that. But it always stands with me because there's something special about horses.
Yeah, I had a little superstition when I went to try a new horse. And it's interesting because I have spoken to other para riders since, and one had a very similar superstition to me. So when I went to try a horse, I'd go into the stable with them. And if they wouldn't sort of sniff or show attention to my walking sticks, I wouldn't even get on them. And another rider who had cerebral palsy down her one side, she had a very similar thing. And if they wouldn't go up and sniff that side and show interest, she wouldn't even get on them. They're so intuitive, horses are. You've got to respect them.
Absolutely. And I think because I respect them so much, there's an element of fear I have for them. I never stand behind horses or anything like that. God forbid.
They're so strong, like they're 10 times my body weight. You're never going to outstrength that. You're never, ever going to beat something 10 times your weight in a push and pull competition. You're just not. So there are 2 ways of riding. You can, some riders that I really disagree with, they sort of demand and bully and push. It was never my style. I always tried to be empathetic, and I'd always ask the horse as opposed to tell the horse. I'd rather the horse give me that moment because they wanted to, rather than them feel bullied into it. Because if they feel bullied into it, they're herd animals. At the end of the day, in the wild, they're prey. And if they feel threatened, they're gonna fucking bolt. And I never wanted my horses to feel threatened to me. It's not my style at all.
Absolutely. Who's been your favourite horse?
George, without a doubt. I've got a tattoo of him on my arm. So his show name was Deacon's Georgie. His stable name was George. And he was the horse that I took to Beijing. He was my horse of a career. He put me on the map. He got me my medal. And once he retired with me. I kept him in a field, and he was able to live out his days. And we only lost him a couple of years ago. I owe a lot to that horse. And I've got a little quote that written under my arm that I wrote for this thing. It says, "He lends me his legs and we take on the world."
I've
And that
seen
was,
that. Seen
yeah.
that.
We had to do
Yeah.
these things with like a photograph of us with the horse, and then something related to our disability, and then think of a quote to go underneath it. And that was the quote that I wrote. So yeah, I've had that tattooed on me because yeah, I owe a lot to that horse. He was a good boy. He was great.
You've had a horse called Bungle and one called Academy Awards.
Yeah, so because I had George, I got this horse and called him Bungle. So I had George and Bungle from Rainbow Days, just because
Yeah,
I'm a dick, basically.
because you can.
And it was actually Bungle that dragged me round and beat me up.
Right.
And then I had Academy Award. He was sponsored to me, so his show name was Academy Award, and his stable name was Oscar.
Oh, very good. Very
Yeah,
good. Very good.
yeah.
Very good.
He was a great horse, actually. I owe him a lot as well. He was a lovely horse. Yeah, I've been really lucky with the horses that I've had. Yeah, I've had some amazing horses that have really done me proud.
What about Zippy?
That was me. that,
Very good.
that was me because I'm a mouthy prick.
Very good. Very good. Just going back to mental health and that, and I was talking
Yeah.
to Tim today about this. Somebody gave me this stat that in terms of disability and suicide risk, men are 3 times more likely to die by suicide if they are disabled. What's your thoughts on that?
That I didn't know that for a start. What do I think about that? That's a big question to ask, and the stat doesn't surprise me. It should, and it doesn't. I think there's a lot of pressure on men in society anyway to be a certain way, to act a certain way, and I think adding a disability to that, obviously depending on the disability, can make that more difficult to be the stereotypical man, if that makes sense. So it doesn't surprise me that is a statistic. It's sad, but I get it. Like, I've been very lucky in a lot of ways. I think my parents did me really good for setting me up, and they treated me and my brother the same. And I was, and I might fucking cause some dispute here, but I'm of the opinion, if you're bullied, bully back. If someone punches you, you punch them back. You give as good as you get. I'm not going to go out looking for trouble, but I'm going to fucking defend myself.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's a good way to be, because I don't take the shit.
Why should you?
Exactly, but some people aren't that confident. I've met a lot of people, that men and women, that their disabilities really affects their confidence.
Be fine who they are.
Yeah, and like, so I've been very lucky in a lot of ways. Like, I've got an amazing girlfriend now.
I was going to ask you about relationships.
Yeah, she's incredible, and I've always been compared, as a disabled man. I've been okay in that department. It's not affected me as much as it has some other people. And there's a lady that I know. I'm not going to mention her name because it's not fair of me to without asking her first. But she's got cerebral palsy, and growing up, all she wanted was a partner. And in fact, I know a bloke who was the same, with different disability but the same. And they found it so hard because people couldn't look past the disability. And I think that is really sad. And I've been very lucky in that regard, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And I paused then because it got me thinking about what's the solution to that in terms of people just looking at the disability and people not looking beyond that and people not seeing the human being, the person.
It's sad because it's not just disability that gets in the way. People are very superficial in a lot of ways. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be fucking holier than thou, because if we're talking about a pure sexual attraction, there are absolutely things that I look for in a mate, let's say. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be as say that my words as correctly as possible. So I can understand people having a preference for certain physicalities. Look, I'm a small dude. I'm 5'6" on my fucking tiptoes. I'm skinny and I'm disabled. For me, I accept if someone doesn't find that attractive, it is what it is, on to the next. But that upsets some people and it shouldn't. I don't know what the solution is. I guess I'm very lucky that I'm confident enough. And I think perhaps we need to raise people's personal confidence that they can bounce back from whatever the rejection is. But it's hard because people take things differently. I think I'm just talking in circles here. I don't really know what, I
You
don't know
know,
if it's making sense or not, but
it's making perfect sense. Can I ask then, because of the stat that I give you in terms of suicide risk, have you known people with disabilities to have died by suicide yourself personally?
no,
Okay.
no, I haven't. I know some able-bodied people that have been very
Okay.
close to me, all men. I don't know a single lady, touch wood, but I know multiple men. They have been able-bodied. But I think for me, the majority of the disabled people that I've interacted with have been athletes and
Yes.
have been successful.
Yes.
And I think because of that, maybe, I don't know. I mean, I know mental health is a thing, and actually something I want to get to about mental health and sport, but remind me to say that because I think it's important.
Please, please.
But I think because my interactions with disabled people have been very successful disabled people, that's perhaps why I've not seen that side of things, if that
Because
makes
you're
sense.
part of the elite.
Yeah,
There's no
yeah,
getting away from that. You're part of the elite in that
yeah.
sense.
Even in comedy, now that I'm a comedian, there are other obviously disabled comedians there, and they're the ones that are doing well, you
Yes.
know. And yes, they all struggle in one way or another, but they're at the top level of the club comedy or whatever they're doing. So I guess I'm quite lucky in that regard that I've not had to see any of my mates do that.
Okay. Go on, pick up on the points you want to talk about, mental health, etc.
My major struggles with mental health was after Beijing, when I was forced to not ride and sort of had that down then. And then when I retired, and I think more needs to be done for athletes. And this isn't just a male thing, this is a female thing as well. I think more needs to be done for athletes to prepare them for life after sport, because you see it all too often. And I could go off on real names now: Fury, Joe Calzaghe, Conor McGregor. They're just in
Yeah.
recent, and I know, nothing's come out about Conor, but his behaviour says otherwise. We need to do more, or the governing bodies of these sports need to do more to prepare athletes for life after sport. Because when you come off the team, you're fucking yesterday's news.
You're lost.
I was put on the team at 14 and you're bulled up and you're given so much fucking smoke up your arsehole that you start believing your own hype. And then
Absolutely.
you finish and all of a sudden the yes men go and you're on your own. And I was very lucky that I had the mates that I had from school and I had a good family that were around me that weren't these yes people. But you see it all too often that people get success, get surrounded by yes men, and then just fucking go down the hole afterwards. And I really think, especially with athletes that are picked up at a young age, like the swimmers, the gymnasts, things where they have to start early, it becomes their life so early on that when they do finish, they're not ready for it. And I
Yes.
can say from my personal experience, I didn't have a single 20-minute session to prepare me for life after sport. And I was on the team from the age of 14 to 30. That's 16 years they had the opportunity to do that and they didn't.
How would that conversation, or what would that conversation look like? Life after sport.
I think the life after sport, I mean, I guess it depends on the sport, but
Okay.
for me, for dressage, the irony is in dressage you can compete for a long time, but it's that the admiration goes. I was doing a lot of public speaking. The demand dries up as soon as you're yesterday's news. Nobody wants the Paralympic medalist from 2008 when there's a Paralympic medalist from 2012 or 2016 or 2020. You're forgotten so quickly. And I think you need to set people up for, in speech marks, normal life.
Yes.
because you're put on a pedestal from such an early age that becomes your normal, and that isn't normal. I was taken off the team at the end of 2012 because of some injuries, and I learned really quickly during that time about this drop. So I was a little bit more ready for it when I did retire, because I got back on the team fairly quickly and then retired in 2016. So I was ready for that drop, but it's still, that was only self-taught. And
Okay.
I think it's wrong that these governing bodies don't do more. And I wish I knew what that looked like. I wish I had the answer now to say, this is the plan, but I haven't got the data. I don't know exactly what people struggle with. I can only talk about myself.
I see it within football, you know, I see it when kids at 16, 17 are let go. You know, I've got family
Yeah.
members who are in professional football teams at young ages, and I do worry about how their parents and them are going to manage if they were to be let go, because
Yeah.
the chances of success are minuscule.
But you
So
know what? They don't tell the kids that. They don't tell them that. They bull them up like, you can do this, you can do that. They fucking believe it going into all these trials that they're going to be
Yes,
the next Messi. And
yes,
then the next thing you know, they're on their arse and they haven't got the fucking GCSEs to get a good job.
absolutely.
And you know what? I can't blame them, because I did the same. You know, I was told this. I didn't try as hard at school as I was very lucky that I did all right at school, to be honest, because I've fucking put no effort in. And I wouldn't either in their position if my effort would go in. Well, it did. It went into the sport I was told I was going to be great at. They don't set you up for the failure, and the majority fail.
They do indeed, and that's the reality. You know what, Ricky? We've spent so much more than what I thought we were going to talk about in terms of
Yes.
your equestrian career, etc. And I haven't really touched on what was that transition to becoming a comedian?
So,
Because I'm going to stop you. I'm going to just jump in, because
well,
isn't that a case of replacing one type of adulation for another? You already know where I'm going there.
oh yeah, you're right. I got an office job. I fucking hated it. I hated it. I fucking hated it. Right. I did. I'm not going to lie to you. So I quit the sport and I got a job as a car salesman. I lasted 6 months. Fucking
Okay.
hated it.
Did you sell any cars?
I was pretty good, to be fair.
Oh yeah, you've got the
Yeah,
patter.
I
You
was all right. I got the gift of the gab, mate. I can sell sand to it. You know, it's not a problem. So then I got a job for a company that basically sold we sold man caves for a living. So we sort of did people's garages out and designed them all and did the cabinets and the workbenches and all stuff like that. Really, really cool project. Like each project was cool. And I kind of worked my way up there and became sort of head of the sales team. I was there for 5 years, but it was just mundane. It was mundane. I'm not, and you know, perhaps this goes back to what I was saying. You know, if I'd have been set up more for life after sport, maybe I'd have been in a position where I could have enjoyed that. But I just fucking didn't. It was, I hated the 9 to 5. It was dog shit. But I'd done a lot of public speaking when I was on the team. I'd sort of done a lot of after dinner talks, a lot of motivational talks, and things like that. So, and I'd always been a big fan of comedy, so give it a go. And I was very, I say lucky, and I don't mean to be arrogant, but I guess talented as well. I put a lot of work into it, and I was able to quit my job and rely on comedy after about 12 months.
Are the transferable skills as an Olympian to becoming a comedian?
I think because I'm a storyteller, it's given me a lot of stories to talk about. But no, I don't really. You could argue the confidence, because you're used to being on centre stage, used to sort of public speaking. That a lot of transitional skills there. I don't think that there are many in terms of being on the field, so to speak. If I try and talk about sport as a whole, to being on stage, other than the pressure to deliver. We've already had that as an athlete. It's just a
Yeah.
different pressure and a different type of delivery.
Do you like pressure?
I love it.
And now you thrive on it, don't you?
Yeah.
I think you
Yeah.
thrive on people telling you can't do something and just putting.
Massively. Red rag to a bull.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's best thing ever. It's great. I love it.
So what next? You're supporting Jason Manford.
Tomorrow, yeah, supporting Jason Manford tomorrow.
How did that come about, and how do you feel about it?
It came about. So he's got a comedy promotion, and they run a lot of comedy events all over the country. And because I gig for them, I'm on the mailing list, and this mailing list came out. Do you want to do tour support for Jason Manford? I'm like, fucking yes, I do. So I just sent my name in. Luckily, the guy who books it had seen my set, see what I do, sort of thing, and yeah, give me the opportunity. So I've only got one date, and that's tomorrow. Hopefully, that'll lead to many more, because I'd love to do more of his tour dates. He's fantastic, and that's good training for me, getting used to these bigger rooms.
Okay. Tim's got a question. He says he doesn't want to interrupt it, but he's got a
Go on.
question if it's okay. Don't be shy now, lad.
Come on, Tim. Stop
Come
fucking
on.
around, Tim. Come on.
That's it. Come on. Clock's ticking here.
Thanks, Yinka. We've got two questions, actually. The first one is actually a listener question from David. So he says, I've watched a lot of Ricky's stuff, clips, seen him live, love him. But in his opinion, he says you do a lot of kind of dark, self-deprecating stuff. That's a lot of your routine. You've got a lot of tack about you. And what he's asking is, where has that come from? Is it from school? Is it from being shaped from sport? What are your thoughts there on that, Ricky?
Yeah, I think for me, I love dark humour, so that was always going to be the angle that I went down. And in terms of sort of being quick-witted and aggressive, that comes from school. That comes from that first day at school and my dad telling me to fire as many fucks in as you can. I never want to be beaten by the audience, and I never will be. So the way I see things, it's like what I said earlier about the bullying thing. If you're gonna, if you're big enough to send a punch, you're big enough to get one back.
Devil's advocate, you're being heckled. What happens?
If I'm being heckled, I deliberately meet the same energy that I'm met with. So if they come at me with something funny, I'll come back with them at something funny. If they're going to call me a fucking cripple, they're getting both barrels.
Yeah.
And I just do it like that. And I think that's a fair way of doing it, because to me, it's the same energy referred. But in terms of my style, yeah, I just love dark humour. Love being self-deprecating, because it's funny. Disability's funny. Some of the stuff I do by accident is fucking funny. I fall over all the time. I can't put my fucking socks on sometimes, and it's just shit's funny. And I think that there's something quite, this is going to sound wanky, but something quite beautiful about finding the funny in the dark times.
Absolutely.
I don't want to be one of these comedians that's out there to fucking deliver a positive message. I'm not there to change the world. I'm just there to entertain people for as long as I'm on stage. I want to make them laugh and go home thinking, fuck me, we've had a good night. But within that, if I can open the door to laugh at something that they wouldn't normally be allowed to, fucking cool. Why
Absolutely.
not? If I'm giving them the license to laugh at that for half an hour, whatever. So fucking enjoy it. Let's go.
Brilliant, Ricky. Thank you. David, that's your answer. The second point is I want to give you opportunity to talk about your podcast. You've got a resurrected podcast that you're going to do, a new one. It's exciting. Lots of interesting ideas and guests here. Can you just tell our listeners a little bit more about that and when they can find it?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So it's called Ricky Balshaw's Unstable. We did launch it last year. I won't go into details, but we had to go on a hiatus. But we've just started filming again. It's going to be launched. I don't know when this particular podcast's going out, but we'll be launching ours a few weeks from today. So mid to late November, we'll be launching that. As I say, it's called Ricky Balshaw's Unstable. You can find it on all the platforms, audio and visual. And basically, the way I'm kind of describing it to people is, it's kind of like Joe Rogan mixed with Stephen Bartlett, and then adding my humour to it. So I'm basically getting just really, really interesting people in to talk about them and really go into what their life experience and stuff like that. Obviously, I've got comedians coming on because I've got links there. I've got a lot of Paralympic and Olympic athletes coming on. I've got, for example, a CID inspector who worked on the 7/7 bombings. I've got a convicted murderer coming on, someone who does sort of medieval fight reenactments. So really, really varied. Yeah, really varied. And it's just a really interesting chat, just opening the doors to different experiences, different lives, different careers, different stories. Because I think stories are great. And like I put it in just a local forum of mine looking for guests, and the stories that were coming out that just never get told are amazing. You know, there are some amazing stories out there. So just shining a light on that, really. And obviously, I'm a comedian. We are having a bit of a laugh and stuff about it, but it is just really informative, really good fun. And I've really enjoyed getting back into it and filming it. So yeah, if anyone's enjoyed this, and get it on. If you search Ricky Balshaw on all the platforms, you'll find me where the clips are. And then, as I say, it's called Ricky Balshaw's Unstable. I appreciate you letting me plug that, actually. Thanks very much.
Brilliant. Check that out then. So that's Unstable with Ricky Balshaw. Check it out in this episode's notes. We've put a link here. Thank you, Ricky. Thank you, Yinka.
Actually, we have done a Patreon as well. It's patreon.com/unstablepod. Now with that, you get early access and you get extra time with all of the guests as well. So each episode for the public's about an hour, but then we do another half hour, 40 minutes behind the paywall. And the first 1,000 patrons I've done for just £1 a month. If you have got a spare £1 a month, you know, go on the Patreon, get early access. There's extra stuff as well. So for that one, it's patreon.com/unstablepod.
Thank you, Ricky. Yinka, it's over to you, mate, now.
Ricky, can I ask, how do you relax?
Telly, to be honest. I zone out. I like just chilling. I've got an amazing girlfriend. I love spending time with her. We've got a dog and a cat, like wrestling with the dog, which is ridiculous, but she's great. Got a little staffy. She's here somewhere, actually. Where's Lily? Lily, do you want to meet the dog?
Go on, yes.
There she is. Hello, darling. Come on. There she is. Hey.
Nice.
Good girl.
Nice.
So yeah, I like doing nothing. I really enjoy writing, spending time with my good lady, who's just the other side of the camera, but she wouldn't want me to turn it around on her now, so I'm not going to do that. But she's incredible. She's amazing. I'm not just saying that because she's there. She is fantastic.
Are you punching?
100%. 100%. Yeah, definitely. 100%. Yeah. Now the cat's come to say hello. Get out of it. Cooking fat. Get out of it. Good girl. But yeah, no, I'm definitely punching, and she's smiling behind the camera now. She fucking knows it as well.
Yeah. Just want to thank you for how effortless today has been with you. I've really, really enjoyed it, and I'm not saying this, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass.
You say that to all the guests.
Not at all.
I think these conversations are important to have, so I appreciate you having me on as well. And if there's stuff that you wanted to cover and we haven't, I'd be more than happy to come on again because I think it's important.
Brilliant. My question to you is this. Who's the most important person in your life? And you can only pick one person.
Me.
Do you embrace that 100%?
I'm the only person that's with me 100% of the time. And I think you've got to be happy in your own skin, confident in what you're doing, and happy with where you're headed.
Brilliant.
And if you're not, change something.
Absolutely. And my last question is this, and I'm not disagreeing with your answer on that one. I totally agree with you. My last question is this. We switch off the podcast. You're chilling with the missus, the dog, the cat. There's a knock at the door, and it's 9-year-old you. What do you say to him?
Probably the first question would be, how the fuck did you get here? But in seriousness, I think I retired too late. There are things that I've done that I should have done earlier or later. I guess what I'd say is go with your gut. Yeah, that's what I'd say. And if it feels right at that time, do it then.
Brilliant. Ricky Balshaw, thank you for being a guest on The Hurt Locker.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed it. So genuinely, thank you for having me. It means a lot.
Cheers. The Hurt Locker is a safe space for our guests to openly share their mental health experiences. If you have been affected by any of the content in this recording, then please reach out for support. If it is an emergency, dial 999. If you would like to talk to somebody today, then please call the Samaritans on 116 123. Stay safe. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Hurt Locker. please give us a rating or share with another listener. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Hurt Locker Pod.